Hello everybody, my name is Zen and we're going to be playing through the intro experience for Diablo 4. This is the closed beta right before the open beta, which is only available if you've pre-ordered or if you live in the US and you ordered a KFC Double Down, which is a ridiculous marketing thing, but it is quite funny. We're going to do a rogue all the way through the little intro experience, which is going to take us up to the first major settlement that we're going to get to. And there's going to be slight story spoilers. I think that's the biggest takeaway here that we just got to put front and center is if you're not interested in seeing any spoilers whatsoever, that's totally fine. This is not the video for you. This is going to have slight story spoilers for the intro of Act 1 because that's what the beta allows you to do. And if you're interested in seeing this stuff for yourself, you could play for free next weekend, which will allow you to go through the open beta, and then of course the game launches in June. For this closed beta, the Necromancer and the Druid are unavailable, so you have the Rogue, the Sorcerer, and the Barbarian. So we're going to play through as Rogue, which actually is probably going to be the class that I end up playing at launch from my own experience with this game. We'll do the female Rogue because I think that she is the coolest. Now, there's a bunch of customization here. So you have defaults of hey, this is kind of like a starting point for your character. Unlike previous Diablo games, with Diablo Immortal as the exclusion here, you basically can customize your character an insane amount, which is really nice. So if we go to customize here, we have a bunch of options for skin tones. As you can see, they've got a wide range of them, which is nice. You can even kind of go pinky or green, which is nice if you're trying to play a Necromancer, right? That would work. I like the default mohawk that we have going on here. Bunch of eye colors as well. You know, normal customization stuff. Not as many hairstyles as I would like, but this is something that could be expanded over time. Right now, there's only 11 for the female, and again, there's quite a few options here, but maybe not as much as people would expect. I'm going to put together a character, talk about the rest of the character creation. We're just going to jump right in. Here we go. I'm over here looking like Rufio from Hook. It works though. So the other options you have, obviously face, we've set that from the default body essentially, and then that will allow us to change our hair, and then from there we can change facial hair. If you're a male character, you can do beards and whatnot. For female characters, it changes eyebrows, which is cool. Lots of different hair colors, including two tones. Like the poison one is pretty cool. I like this red fire one for our rogue here. Accessories, plenty of jewelry options, lots of makeup options as far as face paint and whatnot is concerned. That face paint comes in with some of, oh goodness, like this one here. But if you're doing makeup, it's it's mostly focused on the face. But if you want to combine them, that's something you have to consider because again, changing the makeup and the markings, you're going to gain a bunch of extra face stuff if you choose one that has a bunch of stuff on your face. You can change the color of the markings too, including fresh blood, which is a cool thing. But yeah, you can also, this is the final thing, you can put armor on to kind of see what your character is actually going to look like in the game with armor. There's full transmog available in the game, and you can also adjust this stuff in the game. So if you don't like the look of how your character is, the stuff can be adjusted and changed as you see fit with your character. You can also do hardcore, as you should expect with a Diablo game nowadays. And yeah, we're just gonna name our character. I think that should be fine. You have two different world tiers. I say that with air quotes so you can't see it. It's basically how difficult do you want your game to be. If you play on a harder difficulty, you may die, but you're also going to be gaining 20% increased experience and 15% extra gold, which is totally fine for me. So we're going to jump in and do that. There's other world tiers available as you play more of the game, though not in this beta.
Sanctuary was never meant for humankind. It was forged as a refuge from the war between the high heavens and the burning hells. Instead, it became a new battleground in this eternal conflict. A secretive group called the Haradrim has kept mortals safe. But now this once powerful order is a husk of what it was. And Sanctuary's ancient creators have returned to claim the hearts of humankind.
So this is an in-game cinematic.
Story of their downfall.
And it utilizes your character model in the in-game cinematics, which is really, really cool. It's new for the series. It's also in-engine, so like this is, you know, this is what the game looks like, though more cinematic because it's using different camera angles, obviously. I should also mention I'm playing on PC, but this beta is available on console as well. I think my horse is dead. Just gonna take a little nap in a cave. It's perfectly safe in Diablo. And because it's an in-game cinematic, we're right into gameplay.
I should find better shelter before I freeze.
I'm going to make one caveat here, as you probably noticed. This is Diablo, but it's no Diablo 3 or Immortal. So if you're used to those games and you haven't played Diablo 2 or even Diablo 2 Resurrected, then you should know that Diablo is a mature franchise, and this video will contain some mature content that is not suitable for children, to the point where, you know, we allow I allow my stepson, my wife's son, to play Diablo 3, and it's totally fine. No issue there. He's 12 now. He's totally fine to play it. But he's been playing it for a couple of years. When it comes to Diablo 4, we're not allowing him to play it. So that kind of gives you a scale of like where I'm at on this. It's definitely a mature title. Now we have a skill point, and we have that because I've been playing on other characters, and you can unlock stuff for all of your characters in general. We'll talk about skills as we go, but right now you would start out with just the attack. So I'm just going to keep doing that until we level, and then I'll spend both of our skill points at once. Each class has kind of their own little thing going on. And I should mention, I'm not going to explore every little nook and cranny here for you guys. I'm going to allow you guys to kind of do that on your own, because there's a lot going on as far as the exploration is concerned. So I'm going to leave a lot of that up to you guys, so that way I'm not spoiling that part of the fun here. But this should give you a good idea of the actual gameplay. So each class has kind of their own thing that they do. For instance, the Barbarian carries a bunch of weapons, and it's really cool because they can have like they can have 2 one-handed weapons and 2 two-handed weapons. Now the two-handers obviously just use 2 hands, so they basically you can have like a 2-handed sword and a 2-handed axe, and that makes a difference for their skills because they're some of their abilities require like slashing damage or bludgeoning damage, and using specific skills with those weapons will allow you to utilize that. So if you have like a 2-handed hammer and a 2-handed sword, then you kind of cover both bludgeoning and slashing. So that's not necessarily always the case based on what weapons you have available. And when you hit S on PC and you bring up your skills as a barbarian, you can actually kind of select which weapon is being used for which skill.
Abandoned town.
Everywhere. Fangs in the dark.
The rogue, as we're going to see, is really cool.
Careful. He's a wild one.
It is a hybrid class. It is not like a demon hunter or a monk. It's kind of a mixture of like I would call. I mean, it's the rogue was a character in the original Diablo, but I would call this rogue specifically a mix between like a demon hunter and an assassin. We have both a ranged weapon and a melee set of weapons. And when we go to select our skill, you'll see that it's important to know because we actually have both melee and ranged weapons, and we can like go with our skills full melee or full ranged or some hybrid of that. And it's really cool that you have that kind of option with the rogue. It's very flashy.
What's it to you?
Oswen, hush. I'm sorry, Wanderer. You've come at a difficult time. This madman just stumbled into town and started causing trouble.
Demons spilling from the ruins. Kill us all. Kill us all.
Ruins? What is he talking about?
Come, I'll explain.
It's always demons spilling out of a place with Diablo. You know what I mean? It's like
There is evil staring in the ruins to the north. That poor monk back there must have gone inside. Even a holy man like him was driven mad by whatever he saw.
if it's not demons, it's like undead. It's the same thing, or spiders. Okay, is it safe here?
Could you protect us from whatever is out there? We have nowhere else to turn.
I'm going to kill whatever's in those ruins before it gets the chance to kill me.
Truly? Oh, thank you.
So, okay, we leveled up. Cool. That'll give us our skill point, but there's a lot of stuff to talk to here. Like I could
Sorry, it's a bit cramped.
I could talk to all of these people. Like this guy I can interact
Fire's
with.
looking good, but I should watch it a little longer to make sure it doesn't go out.
Or like this person here, that we had just talked to, Vani. She had a couple options when we first started talking to her. So a lot of these NPCs have that kind of stuff going on. And like I said, I'm not going to take a look at all of those. I'm going to leave that for you guys to explore and figure out. So let's look at our skills. So the blue ones here, as you can see, they have tags. So it says in green, it says basic, and then it says marksman. So these are basic abilities. These are skills, deal damage, and are always available to cast, the basic ones. So basically, I'm not going to be using resources at all in order to cast these. So I have 3 marksman abilities and 2 cutthroat, which are our melee abilities. So we have puncture, which we can throw a blade a short distance, dealing damage every third cast, slows enemies, which is pretty cool. Heartseeker, which is firing an arrow. I get a crit chance of 50%. Dealing damage, increasing your critical strike chance against them by 3% for 4 seconds, up to 15%, which is pretty cool. Forceful arrow. Fires a powerful arrow at an enemy, dealing 6 to 7%, which is 20% of our weapon damage. Every third cast makes the enemy vulnerable for 2 seconds. Vulnerable means enemies take 20% increased damage. Pretty good. We're going to go with a bit of a melee build here. I've played the rogue the most out of all of the classes in Diablo 4. And yeah, I like a lot of the melee stuff, and mixing it with some of the range stuff is a lot of fun too. So we have invigorating strike. It melee attack an enemy, dealing 6 to 7 damage and increasing energy regeneration by 20%. I like that. Blade shift, quickly stab your victim for 4 to 5 damage, and shift, allowing you to move freely through enemies for 3 seconds. Now, each of these skills also have a branch. I'm going to show you how this whole skill tree works in just a moment, but they each branch off. So like this this blade shift, the next upgrade on it, damaging an enemy with blade shift grants a 5% movement speed while blade shift is active up to 20%. So we can gain some movement speed. And then you get to choose one of these, not both. You only get to choose one of these final upgrades on this skill. While Blade Shift is active, you gain 15% all non-physical resistance and reduce the duration of incoming control impairing effects by 20%. Or moving through enemies while Blade Shift is active refreshes its duration, right? So you can basically keep your movement speed up, which is pretty freaking cool. So we have Invigorating Strike, which is the one I'm going to select for our first melee ability, and that'll put that there. We can then upgrade it. So because we have the 2 points, as I had mentioned, I get the extra from the stuff that I've done in the game earlier, although I've not been able to play for a good chunk of the day. The queues are pretty bad. But the way this works is you have these basic skills. The next one over are like your spenders. So again, you've got a few ranged abilities, a couple melee abilities, and a couple passives. We're not going to go through all of these, but as you can tell, this tree branches quite a lot with your skills until it gets to these ultimate abilities, which you select one of, and then down here you have just like these basic passive stuff that you're grabbing, and you're only getting one of them. So yeah, there's a lot here to explore, and the thing is, like, when you put a point into this, it's 1 out of 5 on the skill, so I can keep increasing the power of this skill just by putting more points into it, or I can unlock more skills. And as you see, I need to spend 1 more point to get these spenders, 5 more after that or 5 more points to get these next set of abilities. There's a lot going on here, a lot of customization, and I like that a lot. Up until level 15, it's free to refund all of your skills. Once you hit level 15, it starts costing gold, and that's it. That's pretty easy to kind of figure out. And there's a bunch of ways to customize your skills later on through ability effects and whatnot. We're not necessarily going to get into that in this video. This is just the intro of the game. So do I want to upgrade this? It allows me to damage a crowd-controlled enemy or injured enemy with Invigorating Strike, increases its energy regeneration bonus by 30%. Injured characters have less than 35% of their life. So I can get a bunch of extra energy using that, which is fine. Or I can be like, do we want to get a ranged ability in there too? I think maybe that may not be a bad idea, but Barrage or Rapid Fire are 2 ranged abilities I'm going to be looking at. So I am going to go ahead and just put an upgrade point into that. And then there we go. So now we actually have a slightly better attack. Now let's move forward. So I can open my map up with tab. It's a very large world. This is only one tiny part of it that we're in here. The beta kind of takes place in like this slight area here, but you have a whole world to explore, and it is one giant open world. So your damage is way higher now. It's nice. This big open world, you can literally walk from one side to the other if you really wanted to. But there's a bunch of outposts and stuff you unlock along the way that have waypoints that you might expect from Diablo. And that is the essential setup for the world. Is you have these zones and you can do your quests and whatnot. There's a bunch of side things that you can do, a bunch of exploration that will make your experience a lot easier by finding certain things. We'll see that as we go here in a minute. Let's go ahead and put another skill point in. Let's grab, so we have a couple options. We have Twisting Blades, which I freaking love. This is a great ability. Impale an enemy with your blades, dealing damage, making them take 8% increased damage from you while impaled. After 1.5 seconds, the blades return to you. So you can do this really cool thing where you impale one and you go away, and then it goes through a bunch of enemies. It's really cool. Or we could do Barrage as an option as well. But like I said, we're going to do a little bit melee focused here, and then we'll probably pick up a ranged ability as well. Plus, I just like that ability. It looks really cool. The Rogue is very fancy in that regard. This is basically our first little quest dungeon, I would call it. There are dungeons in the game, which are specific points on the map that we'll see when we get a little further. And while leveling up, they offer bonuses, passive bonuses, and effects that you may want for your class, but you can also unlock for other classes as well. So by doing them on one class, you may be able to unlock the passive abilities for another class. So if you wanted to switch classes, you can absolutely do that kind of thing. That's not going to make a lot of sense necessarily to some people until we get to a later point in this video. We'll try to get there. It kind of depends on how long it takes us to get a little further. So my daggers, by the way, when I do the twisting blades, they remain on the ground there. These are fire barrels, by the way. You can get out of this kind of stuff now because in Diablo 4, you've got an evade, which is your spacebar on PC. It has a small cooldown on it, and you get more charges of that later. But it's a nice little way to get out of stuff on the ground. It make it very obvious when there's crap to get rid of. And you know what? We could just kind of dash through enemies, right? So I can do this, I can dash away, and my blades will go through. It's really cool. Let's go ahead and upgrade our twisting blades. So this one, twisting blades deal 30% increased damage when returning. So we can do some big AoE clearing of enemies if we so choose, which is really nice. I'm gonna put that there, let it hit that. And of course, impaling that one target and actually like dealing straight damage to it is pretty good. But I like that return damage. It's just fun to do. It gives you a lot of movement on your character, I think. By default, you're like, okay, I've got a bunch of movement that I should be doing because I'm putting these blades in and I should be allowing the return to do damage. But the return does do damage to the one character. So like if I do the blades on, no, that was a bad example. If I do the blades on like a boss, the return is still going to be hitting because technically the return is going through the boss's hitbox, even though it's still on the one target that you just did it on. So it's not like a completely useless ability for single target, even though I think it could be misconstrued as such. And I think that brings me to the point that Diablo 4 has quite a lot of depth with its skill setups. And that's not surprising to anybody in any sense, I don't think, because most people who've played a Diablo game understand that there's a lot of cool skill interactions and whatnot that end up happening. And it's, by the way, that was kind of a cool little loop that we do just to get a little bit of extra loot and gear. But, you know, crazy skill interactions that allow really cool combinations are to be expected in ARPGs and definitely should be expected in Diablo. Like, no exception. I think while the way they did skills in Diablo 3 was definitely different than Diablo 2 and is kind of closer to what they also did in Immortal, I think this skill system feels like a hybrid between Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 in a good way, in a really good way. You're not as limited, right? Because you're not just essentially having a 2-button setup that you can, I mean, with hotkeys in Diablo 2, you can switch between skills and whatnot. But it's a little less limiting in that regard, and you can have the 1 through 4 there as well as the left click, right click. And if you're playing on console, it means that it's a lot easier to control as well. But if you play Diablo 2 Resurrected on console, it's you kind of get the feeling of how it would be to play on PC with the hotkeys. So yeah, they've changed a lot over the years as far as like binding of skills and being able to utilize them. So in my opinion, I think that this setup that they have here with the 1 through 4, the left click, right click, which is your standard like Diablo 3 setup, works really, really well with their hybrid of how they've done skills and their upgrades. So I'm enjoying that quite a lot. And I think that as far as the end game is concerned, with the combination of legendary items and what I was talking about earlier from the dungeons, which is going to allow you to alter skills as well, I think that kind of stuff is going to help to add even more depth to specific builds And then we have confirmation that the game is going to have seasons as well, which essentially means that just like Diablo 3, we're going to have a season where we jump in and I'm assuming start fresh and play and unlock cosmetic rewards. But it's going to have a battle pass too, which is not a bad thing actually, and I'm looking forward to that. All right, here's our first boss. It's a big boy. Now, we can do our best here to do damage to him. And we are doing actually quite a lot of damage. However, we're getting hit with vulnerable, which is going to make us take extra damage. We don't like that. You see the little chevrons on the top of the boss's health bar. When we clear one of those, like we have already, we've done one of them now, it drops more health potions, because in the bottom left, you see our health bar, or orb. We have 3 out of 4 health potions. When I use one, it goes to 2 out of 4, but I can pick up these on the ground. It's going to maximize them. So it's kind of a cool system of having to have enough gear or survivability or damage even to get to a specific part in the fight without running out of resources. Because if you run out of health potions and then you die, well, you know, that's not good. You need to be able to do at least enough damage to kind of keep up with the health potions there. Got a bunch of weapons. Got 2 weapons, which is really nice. So we got a sword, which is one of our one-handers, and we upgraded our crossbow. Now the crossbow is not necessarily super good for us at the moment, but it will be. If I use a ranged attack, which I do plan on throwing a ranged attack in there, then it will be. And it's good for bosses like that to have the ranged attack option. So if you're having to back away from the boss because they're doing some kind of special ability and you don't want to reduce your damage that you're doing because you're just sitting there picking your nose instead of actually damaging the boss, having a ranged attack there is a good option. You know, it's not necessarily something like the barbarian has the option to.
The old ruins are clear. Your town should be safe now.
Truly. Ha! By the light, you are heaven sent. Oh, I'm so sorry. We haven't any coin to offer. But we have hot stew, good company, and...
Stay for a pint.
Wash out the taste of the stew. We'd be honored if you'd join us.
Our savior.
Jaunty music. Yeah, of course they poison me. I just saved you, idiots. The real question is, was he just sitting outside that entire time just waiting for me to get conked out so he can come and get me? Must have been cold waiting. I mean, who knows how long it would have taken. I saw my corpse, and from my mouth crawled hatred. A father burned his children on a pyre, and a mother molded a new age from the ashes. I saw the weak made strong, a pack of lambs feasting on wolves. Tears of blood rained on a desert jewel, and the way to hell was torn asunder. It's such good writing. Then came a spear of light, piercing hatred's heart, and he who was bound in chains was set free. From Rathma's prophecy. Rathma? Pretty cool dude.
my mother's blood, my mother's body. So, shall you witness her glory before you die? Not ready yet.
Jeez.
They're coming! The whole damned village! Get up! Get up! We have to fight our way out! There! Take them! May the light preserve us.
All right, let's do this. Let's kill these bastards.
Lost souls! All of you!
Get my daggers to go through them all. Ooh, the level up damage. That was nice, huh? Let me just put some extra items on. I have that extra skill point. We'll spend that in a moment when we're done with this encounter. Oh, that dodged me. That's unfortunate.
Blessed like us now.
That was all of them. Light willing.
You're the madman from the shed.
Madman. Those heretics drugged me after I returned from the ruins. Just like you. I came to my wits and escaped. Tried to get inside the chapel, but it was locked and... What manner of evil is this? Petals? Of blood? They must have fed them to me. A blasphemous ritual. How did they learn this? Perhaps the answer lies in the chapel. They kept it locked up for a reason. The key might be on that woman who was leading them.
Yeah, let's get the key, and then we'll spend our point. Do I want to upgrade our weapon here? Our twin twisting blades? We can either do enemies are dazed while impaled with twisting blades, or when your twisting blades return, your active cooldowns are reduced by 1 second per enemy they pass through, up to 3 seconds. Pretty good. No, I think in this case, we're going to get a ranged attack. Rapid fire is pretty nice. Rapidly fire 5 arrows. Penetrating shots fire an arrow that pierces through all enemies in a line, or barrage, unleash a barrage of 5 arrows that expands upwards, each dealing 14 to 18 damage. Each arrow has a 20% chance to ricochet off an enemy up to 1 time. Ricochets deal 40% of the arrow's base damage. Yeah, that's a tough one because it's like I want a ranged attack to be able to use here, but it's like, which one do we go with? I think barrage, rapid fire. I mean, penetrating shot's nice, but barrage or rapid fire is probably going to be the same. Rapid fire is definitely less of an AoE, and I think maybe we need more AoE, so let's go with a barrage on that one. And then we don't have this unlocked yet. We need 7 total skill points unlocked, which actually, honestly, we're not far off from. We've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we're close. But once we unlock this, then we can pop that sucker down, and I plan on just upgrading everything as well, which is unfortunate because see, if you wanted to do like what I'm doing now, you're kind of limited.
The darkness in this place. Have a look inside, but hurry. I will prepare the torch.
Let's do it.
Blood petals. Like the ones I was fed. Is this real?
Get ready for some mature content, by the way.
Our Father has granted you a path to salvation. And yet, you stray from it at every opportunity. You drink and gamble. You covet and steal. Shameful.
Sin is their birthright. My children. The lords of hell are coming to devour our world.
So freaking cool.
Salvation lies not in the light, but in you. The faith has taught you to deny your heart's desire and turned you into a prisoner within yourself. Break the chains and discover who you were meant to be. Break the chains and be beautiful in sin.
Resist! Resist her temptation! Vani, it's me. I brought your child into this world. They have awakened, Mother.
The first of many. Go to the dry steps and continue your preparations. Now, our true work begins.
Yeah, they weren't kidding when they said return to darkness.
Thank the light.
This game is a lot darker than Diablo 3 and even Diablo 2. How did I get out of there? By the way, I like this kind of dialogue system. I think that's really cool. It feels more like an RPG to me in a lot of ways when I'm walking around later on in the game and there's a bunch of things that I could talk to and discover and read notes and whatnot. I like that a lot because it means that if you're interested in enveloping yourself in the lore of Diablo, there's a lot here.
You collapsed inside. I thought the darkness had swallowed you. I dragged you here and put this cursed place to the torch. What happened to you in there?
I saw a vision. A horned demon. She said the lords of hell are coming. She wanted to help the people survive.
Help them.
She called them her children. And they welcomed her like a mother.
Mother? No. It cannot be.
I must report to the cathedral. Listen, there is a hermit to the northeast. A man of questionable loyalty, but he knows of the forbidden. He might be useful to us.
Bring him to the cathedral in Kyovashad, and you will be in the light's favor.
Cool. We gotta go search for him. Which way is it? Up to there? It's this way. Cool. Oh, and we got a amulet. Nice. New gear. So I will say real quick that we're gonna end this video when we get to that city. Kiowa Shed, I think is what it was called. And if there's more interest for seeing more of Act 1, then we will do that. Otherwise, I think this is going to be a pretty good look at, you know, what the game entails for the first intro for it. But it does not give you a good idea of what the game is going to be on a more grand scale of what you're going to be doing more in the game. But it does give you an idea of what the game is about. So this altar, essentially what they do, there's these hidden altars of Lilith all around the world. And when you gain one of them, that one gave me renown or whatever it was, reputation, I think is what it was called. No, it wasn't renown. But that is not actually what it normally gives. It's because I've already collected it on 2 other characters. But what happens when you find those in the world and you collect them is it gives you a permanent stat increase to all of your characters, which is freaking awesome. This whole little area is basically a tutorial area, by the way. It lets you know that you have these cellars. You can clear out cellars. Sometimes they've got various types of content in them. In this case, we got like a rare skeleton captain that we can take care of. And we can like wreck his face with our twisting blades. Now, the thing with the twisting blades, which is not apparent, but I think is really good to know how this works. You can keep stabbing it over and over and over as long as you have the energy, and it's going to keep putting new blades in that will return. So it'll keep doing the return damage. And I like that a lot. It's like I said, it's not apparent when you first use it. And I think a lot of the abilities so far between the barb, that's a shrine down there, by the way, it's another tutorial thing. There's a shrine. You could get normal stuff. If you play Diablo, you know what a shrine is. If you haven't, it basically, that particular one gives you some defense. So, or damage reduction, I think is a better way to put that one for the defense shrine. But yeah, like the barb and the wizard, they all have skills like that, where you realize the depth of them maybe after using them once or twice, or sometimes like right away. And a lot of the interactions between skills, unless you are sitting there just analyzing the skill tree of your character the first time that you play, instead of like just picking like I am, like, oh, this sounds cool, let's go with that, right? And I've played the rogue enough to know kind of what I'm getting myself into. But unless you're, like I said, analyzing the heck out of it, then you're gonna miss out on all of the weird little passive effects, especially the one-off ones that you can only get one or the other on these effects, and how they interact with each other and other skills. I think it's really important to understand that there are plenty of other skills that you could be getting that may work really well with an ability that you don't necessarily think they might, until you go and read through that passive stuff. And again, that leads to the extra depth, and that extra depth leads to better and more interactive end game gameplay. And just them being able to adjust the mechanics of certain stuff through seasonal effects, such as, you know, like this last Diablo 3 season for the one that came out just like, I don't know, what was it, like a month ago? Or maybe it was like 3 weeks ago or something like that. It came out with a whole new system where you unlock all these little pieces in what is essentially a talent tree, and they're permanent effects for the season, and they're really nice. You could do that kind of stuff with this, with the skills and how they interact and whatnot. And as a seasonal effect, you can have the game be very different season to season, and I like that as well. Again, it adds more depth. What we're seeing here is there's a bunch of materials for crafting. We found like the gallow vine there, but there's also like iron ore and whatnot. All of this stuff you can see if we go to materials and stats. We've got a bunch of it. There's a lot of different kinds of materials, and they're just used for a variety of different things within the game, between crafting or upgrading stuff. The potions, like when I hit level 10, I'm able to upgrade my potion to the next one, which is just a better potion. And then by completing certain tasks in the world, you can increase the amount of potions that you have. You originally, will start with a low number, but as you play through the game, you'll unlock more. All right, let's find out where this guy is. Again, there's a bunch of stuff that you can click on here and figure out kind of a little what's going on with whoever this guy is. It's cool, but we're just going to do this one, and the rest I'm going to leave alone.
Short fangs, young, freshly turned, an easy kill. Further south than the others. They're spreading.
If you're going to trespass into my home, rifle through my things, then at least have the decency to join me for supper. I'm bloody hungry.
That's quite the story.
I wish it wasn't true, but it is. Why did I have that vision?
Thank those friendly villagers. They gave you the blood of Lilith.
The blood of a demon?
Not just any demon. The daughter of hatred. The mother of sanctuary. She was banished ages ago. But this world is her creation. It was prophesied she would come back.
What does she want?
That's the question. Sanctuary has always been trapped amid the eternal conflict. A war between angels and demons. But Lilith serves neither side. She has her own plans for us.
And me? Am I corrupted?
Not sure yet. But you two share a connection. What will you do about it?
Use it. Find out what she's after.
Good. Then we're in this together. Rest while you can. Then we'll start in Kiovashad. If we can't stop Lilith, we'll all be damned.
Oh, there's so much to talk about there. So this is Lorath. If you don't know who Lorath is, and you've played another Diablo game like Diablo 3, let me refresh your memory. Lorath is one of the Horadrim, and he shows up in Reaper of Souls, and is an NPC that shows up in the campaign. But also, if you're playing in adventure mode, he like hangs out in town with Tyrael, and he's always talking to him about the different things. He's trying to learn more about angels and demons and the Horadrim and whatnot, and he's just kind of this companion character throughout the story. This is Lorath. It's been a long time in the game world, but he's grown up. He's a bit older, and he still exists. And now we get to have him a part of this story. Another interesting thing here, a little tidbit. And then when you think about Lorath, you think about Diablo 3, and you're like, okay, well, where's this story going? By the way, there's like this whole day-night cycle thing. It's really awesome. Now we're back in the day. I think it is interesting to think what happened to the Nephilim after Malthael was defeated. Did the Nephilim just like peace out? Because from what we know about the stories so far in Diablo 4 is, the angels, the high heavens, everything, they kind of abandoned Sanctuary. So you got to wonder what exactly happened to the Nephilim. Is the Nephilim even around? Are we going to meet a Nephilim? I don't know. It's an interesting concept, but this character you play as definitely not a Nephilim, and that has its own power connotation and everything there. So I think it's really cool and really intriguing to see where the story is going to go especially after Act 1 and what's going to happen with Lilith and Arius and whatnot. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited.
Never thought I'd live to see all this.
I feel like my character does so much damage. I played a wizard earlier and I was not dominating like this.
The angel in Arius. I'm sure you've heard the Cathedral of Light babbling about their Holy Father. Well, he's real. An angel walks among us. And when he learns that Lilith is here, blood will flow. They are ancient enemies. They'll drag the whole damn world into their feud unless we can stop it.
I believe this is supposed to be a statue.
Kiovashad lies just ahead.
I think this was supposed to be a statue of an Arius. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe not. All right, let's get to our city and we'll kind of wrap up our thoughts of the intro there. Talk a little bit more about the game as a whole.
Hold. To enter the city, you must
We have no time for this.
What's this about?
To enter Kiovashad, you must perform a cleansing ritual. Meaningless gesture, but some people take comfort in it.
How dare you?
Just let him through, lad. I've tried for years to get Lorath to do the ritual.
Fine, but this one stays.
I'll meet you inside.
Cool.
Take a piece of holy cedar wood from the shrine and inscribe it with the sin which troubles you.
So we have a couple options here.
Cast it into the brazier. As the fire burns the wood, so too will the light burn away your sin.
I don't know if this is ever going to have an actual effect in the game, or if this is going to be like the Stardew Valley, like what is your favorite thing prompt. Like I'm not sure, but we could put whatever we want here. For my barbarian, I did anger. I felt like that was fitting, but for my rogue, I'm gonna do greed.
Greed.
And again, that kind of plays into what I was saying about this game feeling more like an RPG, where like I could do these more role-playing character moments and be like, who is my rogue actually? I don't know. And I've never really thought about that in a Diablo game because my character has never really been present in cutscenes before and been a more part of the story, and I love that.
Good. You must feel as though a great weight has been lifted from you. Welcome to Kiovashad.
Cool. Now, this is the first main settlement that you get to in the game. It is quite large in comparison to many others, but it is by far unique in its
on that piece of wood?
in the way that it is set up.
Something about greed or gluttony, perhaps?
Most settlements
Little, I suppose.
are going to have your standard vendors and whatnot, and this is no exception here. We've got like the alchemist, we have the healers. So if you don't want to use a potion, you're almost low, like you're low on health. It's got a waypoint. It's got the wardrobe for transmog and whatnot. It's got a lot of stuff here in this city. Yes, you are seeing the stables correct. You do get a horse in this game, but it's later on in the game, and that horse can also be customized. So like this is the default horse that you get, but there's like bardings, trophies, and different types of mounts that you can get, which is really cool. And there's gonna be a vendor to buying mounts as well. But yeah, this is a fairly large outpost, all things considered, and it's just one of a lot of different outposts you're gonna be able to go to. As you can see, we have another waypoint back at our place over here, but we haven't discovered it. We're gonna have to go backwards to get the waypoint, and that will allow us to travel between these. But I can walk from this point to this point, or this point to this point, or this point to this point. Like that, you could just travel the world, and I really, really like that. It's quite large. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, and each of these areas are filled with events that are popping up. There's like in the beta, there's going to be one of the world bosses that you can go fight, which is really cool. But in each zone, so like this is essentially the Fractured Peaks zone, right? As you can see, it's labeled here. Everything is like level appropriate. This is level 5, 5, 5, 7, 12. Like it gets a little higher up as we go over here. Whereas this other stuff is 18, 15. Like there's a bunch of stuff over here. 35, 45. Kind of gives you an idea of where you're going in the game. But these zones that we're in, the Fractured Peaks, that has this whole set of rewards. At the top, you'll see like the waypoints, or the strongholds is what that is, or side quests, dungeons, or I guess they're called side dungeons. And all of these things, if I hit W and view rewards, they're going to give us stuff. So it's not just like blast the main story, especially on your first character. You don't necessarily want to do that because, as you can see in the key here, these are claimed by each character. So this bonus of 3,000 gold when I get the 200 renown is going to be applied to just this character. But that extra skill point I was talking about unlocks for all characters on the realm. Same thing with this potion charge, or this skill point, or these max obols, or these 4 paragon points. These, though, require world tier 3, which is going to be later on once you're much higher level. And then, as you see here, the breakdown of everything. We have waypoints, strongholds, side quests, areas discovered, side dungeons, and altars of Lilith. So just in this area of the Fractured Peaks, we've got 28 altars to find, and they're hidden. We've got 23 side dungeons to do. We got 77 little areas that we have to explore. Like, there's a lot, and this is just in the Fractured Peaks. A horse, are we going, or are you going somewhere?
I'm off to the dry steppes in search of that pale man from your vision. I must know what part he plays in all this. But first, I need you to retrieve something of mine while I finish my negotiations. A merchant in the center of the city has it. Just tell him I sent you.
Cool. A little bit of a tutorial area. These guards look so cool. I love them so much. I'm looking at them like, man, I wish I had a crusader in this game, or a paladin or something, because that's what I would end up playing for a good majority of my time, at least until I found something that maybe spoke to me a bit more. So this vendor here, we can trade with him, but we're gonna get a quest item from him.
So the old man's finally decided to buy it back. Knowing him, he didn't mention coin, did he? If he wants his weapon, you will need to pay.
That's fine. Let's buy his polearm. Remember that polearm from the, see, it says, while clearly old, its ornate blade has been kept sharpened and polished as though it would be needed again at any moment. If you ever saw the
old man sold me this too. Said he didn't need it anymore, but I think he'd want it back all the same.
If you ever saw the Reaper of Souls cinematic where Malthael steals the Soul Stone, the like essentially lone survivor of that minus Tyrael was Lorath, and that's one of his spears that you can see in there. So there you go. And the strange amulet, I believe it's the symbol of the Heraldrum. So in the inventory, by the way, we have equipment, consumables. Get to that in a second. Quest items. So you see our quest items pop up there, and aspects, which are like pieces of or like legendary effects that we've taken out of a legendary, and we can put on different weapons. And I find that very cool. Consumables, on the other hand, there's like flasks that you can get, and they last for like 30 minutes, but they buff your character, and you can use them when going into a dungeon or PvP and stuff like that. I love that idea. We have our blacksmith here, very similar to Diablo 3. We're just gonna salvage all of that, minus this. For whatever reason, won't let me salvage it. I'm gonna go sell it. We have a repair, and we have upgrade, so I can upgrade an item. So like this weapon here, I can upgrade it, and it will be slightly better, or do slightly more damage. Let's get rid of these.
Anything else?
Cool. And now we have to head back to Lorath. So that's kind of how the inventory works. Let's quickly, before we wrap this up, run over here and chat with the brewer, or the alchemist. So here you can see the upgrade. So at level 10, we get to a tiny healing potion. Then at level 20, we get the minor healing potion, so on and so forth, all the way up to player level 90, where we can get a superior healing potion. So there's a bunch of stuff going on there. We have the elixirs, as I was talking about. Like this one increases dodge by 5% and experience by 5% for 30 minutes. So it's a nice way. It requires level 10, but it is a nice way to gain a little bit of extra experience. We can go through our resources and essentially break them down into different resources. And then there's a whole incense thing that I'm not getting into here, but it's nice that you have like all of this to upgrade and tinker with. And it means that if a season in Diablo 4 does indeed reset back at level 1 and you're doing the whole leveling experience again, if that is a thing, I don't know if that is going to be, it means that there's a lot of stuff to be able to go through. Unlike in Diablo 3, where it kind of feels like you can take care of 99% of that within like 3 hours of a new season. It feels like this is going to be a little bit more expansive. I had to pay for your weapon.
Apologies.
He also gave me this amulet. What is it?
The Mark of the Heradrim. An ancient order of scholars and mages, sworn to protect Sanctuary from demons. These days, we are few in number. There is another Heradrim, Donan. His breadth of knowledge about demons is equal only to his hubris.
Sounds like he could help us.
You should seek him out in OSWguild. But don't forget about the cathedral. They'll be expecting you, and they might prove to be useful allies too.
You're not coming with me.
I'm going to the Dry Steppes to find out who that pale man is. Join me when you can, just be careful. Your ties to Lilith, the visions you see. You are the key to finding her and stopping whatever she has planned.
Just kind of jumps up on the horse. Any weird bugs that you might see and stuff?
Sometimes our paths in life are set to collide. We just don't know it.
Just remember, this is still beta. Some of the stuff may be
Whether
fixed
it is
before
by
launch.
accident or fate's hand, there is nothing we can do about it. The Wanderer lost in the storm, fed the blood of Lilith, saved by a lone monk. Different lives and incidents drawn together. By what? Destiny? Or some greater power pulling the strings? I did not know. But at the time, I thought I had the chance to protect humanity from the daughter of hatred. The Wanderer's connection to her gave me hope. Imagine that.
Yeah, we leveled up. At this point, I'm just going to throw a skill point in because whoop, it's like, hey, pre-order. I already have. Go away. Oh, goodness. Okay. Weird timing with that. I still need one more point in order to get one of these, of which I really want Shadow Step. That's going to be my thing because then I can twisting blades and Shadow Step onto a different enemy instead of dodging or using my dodge. There's a bunch of other cool stuff with that. And of course, we still need to spend this point in order to get this upgrade here. So I think maybe we get the barrage ricochet chance is increased to 100% for arrows that damage a vulnerable enemy or critical strike an enemy. Although we're not making anything vulnerable here, so maybe not. I think I'm just going to upgrade the twisting blades, or sorry, the invigorating strike. Maybe with like, or actually, is there a passive here? Critically striking an enemy grants 5% movement speed for 4 seconds. Or, oh, there's so many options. Okay, hitting enemy with the strike while you're below 50% energy makes you vulnerable, or makes them vulnerable for 3 seconds. Let's go ahead and do that. And then that gives us this, which is really nice, but we're still 1 skill point off. It's not going to let me, because I have to earn 7 total skill points. I still need it, 1 more in order to put the ranged attack on there, which will give us some stuff. Now, at this point, it wants us to head up to the cathedral, which starts the campaign quest there. I will mention that as far as like how the game plays from here, if you guys want to see it, and if there's a lot of interest, I'll continue on from here and we'll kind of see where the game goes. Otherwise, I've got some ideas for some other Diablo 4 content on the channel. However, the way that it works is that you have the campaign missions. So Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. These are the 3 campaign missions that we have. Obviously, we can't be progressing on these because we need to do Act 1. So Act 1 will then take us up to the cathedral where we'll talk to somebody there. But you have these side missions, which are blue exclamations, so we could go pick those up and go do those in the world, which will get us more experience and will take us to these different zones. And while in these different zones, we'll find events and dungeons and whatnot. And these are the dungeons that I was talking about earlier. So this one, actually, is there a rogue one here? That's a general one. That's a druid one. Basically, this one, after swapping weapons 6 times, gain 8 fortify for a barbarian effect. This is a really cool effect that we can unlock for barbarians by doing this. But I could unlock a more general one. So this is Aspect of the Protector. Damaging an enemy elite grants you a barrier absorbing up to 54 damage for 10 seconds. This effect can only happen once every 30 seconds. Now, if we go to collections and we go to aspects, these are what these are. You can see I already have a couple unlocked. I've got one for druid, one for sorcerer. We could show only the ones in my class as well. But there's also just the general ones, like these defensive ones. Yeah, there's barbarian specific ones, rogue specific ones. Like that one said, you take 15% less damage from crowd controlled enemies. Whenever a crowd controlled enemy deals direct damage to you, gain 15% movement speed for 2 seconds. Pretty cool, and it tells you where to go get it. And you could pin it on your map too, which I like a lot. The thing with this is these are effects that you then go put onto an item. So it puts it basically in a codex. You go to, there's a vendor off over here, the occultist, and you can take those effects that you're gaining and put them on an item as a legendary item. You basically are upgrading an item to a legendary and it gains that effect, which is really, really cool and very unique because it means that, you know, my barbarian, if I'm playing through the game with my wife, which I will be through the rest of the beta, I could be going through these dungeons and unlocking these effects for the other classes. So when I create a class, like when I create this rogue, I can go and get a rogue effect and just go pop it on a piece of gear when I get to that point. It is really cool. I like that effect a lot. I like that kind of exploration a lot because it means that I may not necessarily play a druid right now, but I may as well do this and get the rewards for it, and then I have it. And then it's done. And then when the game launches, by the way, because everything's going to be reset before launch, when the game launches, this is even more important to pick these up as you go. And I like that a lot. So you're going to be hitting up the side dungeons. You're going to be hitting up the side quests. You're going to be doing the main quests as you go and unlocking all the different things and finding the Lilith statues. There's a lot to do just in general moment-to-moment gameplay. And I'm in love with it. Let me know what you guys think of this kind of intro to the game. It is definitely slower paced than like a lot of people might expect, especially people who put a lot of time into like Diablo 3. I feel like this is slower paced than that, but it really feels tense and it's building to something in the story. And I think that the gameplay leads you into, this now open world that we have here of now we go and explore and we move around. I like that this is showing me kind of where this dungeon is generally supposed to be and how to get to it. And yeah, I think while it's a slow burn, it's one that is setting the game up excellently. I'm really curious to see how the game plays, you know, at max level and then obviously leading up to that point, but only time will tell because this only goes up to level 25 in this beta. And if you're even mildly interested, you're going to want to get to level 20 in the beta because you unlock this cool cosmetic wolf pack thing that you can put on. It's literally a wolf backpack. It's a little wolf cub in this cool backpack that looks cool on your character. And all of that can be seen in the game. You can zoom in and check it out, but there's also like the character screens and whatnot. And the final thing that I wanted to show real quick is that you do have a profile that you could either set to public or private, and this kind of stuff you can edit with titles. So I could be like the Liesel Brewer and there's all these emblems and stuff that you can unlock for your cards, and there's a lot of public stuff because despite it being less of an MMO than like Diablo Immortal is, it still is kind of an MMO, and if I walk around I'm going to find other players in this city. But yeah, that's just the way the game works. Again, let me know what you thought of this intro experience. how are you feeling about the game now that you've seen roughly an hour of gameplay into the game and are kind of seeing where the game is headed? If you liked it or not, doesn't really matter. I want to hear your thoughts, because that gives some feedback to the devs on potential things that they can adjust, not necessarily change too much of, because the game is only a couple months away at this point. With all that being said, thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you all next time.